an amazing conversation with John Doe, remaining anonymous on this one, but it's all about online predators and how they target and build trust through that online medium, which is terrifying because it continues to grow. The numbers of online predators and what happens to our tweens and teens because of them is just alarming and horrifying. So, inside of John's story, we talk about that very thing. And I posed the question to him: how do you stay smarter than your kids who know more about this smartphone thing in their hands, and how to make sure that you don't ever actually see what's really going on? Because most of us aren't even enabling things. What do you do? How do you stay one step ahead of them when you know there are predators out there? How do you keep them safe? Here's John. I'm very excited to welcome an anonymous guest today. We'll call you John Doe. And the reason it's so great to hear his voice is because he's in that younger, what I would call the younger generation of enlightened minds around this conversation of grooming and master manipulation. He has some experience there that I feel like gives a unique take on this conversation that we are trying to have, because most of the time, those of us that have been through, sexual assault and abuse, we stuff it for a long, long time. We try to deal with life and move on and kind of pretend like it never happened. And so it's, generally speaking, years later when we start to realize it's affecting our lives and that we need to talk about it and we need to get on some healing path. Well, this young man is still in his 20s and is willing to talk about grooming because he has a unique perspective. So, welcome, John Doe, to our show.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I think it is really important for sure to try to get the generation that I'm in on board with just becoming aware of all of this, especially with just how the internet, social media is consistently progressing and becoming, let me think the right word, becoming a portal basically for predators that are targeting people to easily gain access. It's no longer the guy in the free candy van or the guy looking for their lost puppy. It is evolving into how easy it is to just approach someone online and start talking to them.
When you say to approach someone online, at what age? I mean, if you could go back in time, are you glad that you had that phone in your hand and that you could get online? At what age? How early were you given access?
I was 17. When I got like, I guess my first access to the internet, it started when I was sixth grade because around that time is when the internet really started to take off to where it was being implicated into school. So you have to start using it to start doing essays, research papers. And back in my day, it was MySpace that was like, the first social media platform. So everyone was just very excited to be able to have a platform that you can kind of express yourself on. So I remember like back in the day, just the amount of work you had to do to just customize the profile and get the pictures you wanted up on it, and just the funny poses everyone did to make themselves like look cooler on the internet. Um, that's kind of, I think, where it all kind of began. And I am grateful for the technological jump that we have had since then. But I do feel that there are more protections that need to be put in place. And I feel like parents really need to be watching what their kids are doing on the internet, especially teenagers, because when you're a teenager, you go through that bit of time where you start to become stubborn and you start to, think that you know a lot more than everyone else. And so it can get you into trouble for sure.
That's interesting because I remember the whole phone thing came into play, I remember before they became super popular talking to one of my sisters, I think it was Karen, and I was like, Do you think people would, like, buy a phone that they could carry around and have to, like, be on the phone or be accessed by the phone, like, 24/7? I'm like, "I'm not sure people will do that." So then and then I think my sister Karen, who's much smarter than I am, she said something like, "Oh, I would definitely buy something like that and carry it around in my purse, and, that would be good because then, what if you miss
It's
that?"
like you have your laptop on you all the time.
Yeah, and I'm like, why did we not invest in this? When you said that, I should have, or maybe it was Susan, or maybe it was both of them, but I think it was Karen. And I was like, well, we should invest in it then because it seems like if it's going to work, it's probably going to go big, but I don't know. I don't know that I would do it. It's just funny to me how, I mean, it is like the whole world changed in those five.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, if you were in sixth grade, you would have been what, 11, 12?
Oh, no, I think I was 13 at that time.
Okay, 13, okay. So if it was around age 13 and you were getting, into MySpace, which is so funny, it doesn't really even have a place with us anymore. I remember when Facebook started and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool. I can find all these people and they're reaching out," and then it became overwhelming. But
Yeah.
but it was really fun at first. Um, so at 13, so you've got this tool where you can get all this access and information. What else is going on in that period of time, where the tween is now becoming a teen? There's more and more things that are kind of going on at that age and stage, which also I think make us vulnerable, which is really truly the first stage of grooming is when the vulnerability of any person, a young person in particular, if you're using the word grooming, or a master manipulator, if you're maybe an older person, you can relate to that word, where they find your vulnerability. They target you because they see something that's vulnerable. So, how does that work online?
Yeah, so, I think around that age, I really just kind of gave off the impression that I wasn't confident in myself, and so, I was going through a lot of masking, I guess you could call it, because I grew up in a very small town, very like good old boy kind of vibes. And I was struggling a lot with trying to just stay under the radar with my sexuality because of the area I was in at the time. Being gay was something that you did not want to broadcast. I had transferred schools probably about maybe 11 different times just because I had a very high voice back then. So, and I liked to express myself with the way that I dressed. And so, when I came in looking unique compared to other people, I was easily a target to my peers. So, it took me a long time to find, I guess, a school where there was a lot of other people that were kind of not gay, but like in the same position of just being unique. And so that is what really kind of like set up, I guess, the foundation of me being put into um, like bird's eye view for these type of people that are doing this kind of stuff to teenagers. So I remember I had a flip phone as my first phone, and like it had like a very minimal data connection on it, and I would just honestly use the internet to, I think, just get ringtones. Like, that was, like, the thing that I had is I just like making my own ringtones on my flip phone. And so, gradually, it went up to the time where iPads started to come out. And so, I remember my friend in, like, 6th grade got an iPad, and everybody was, like, so excited and wanted to use it because there's little games that you can play on it. It's like, you have a mini laptop, so it was easy to research like topics we were learning in school, and you could start typing up like your essays on it then. And then the iPad 2 came out where it had a camera on it. So you were able to video chat with it. And so that was the model that I had gotten the first time. And I honestly, I really just wanted it so that I could video chat with my friends and my family members. I was really close with my cousins then. So we used FaceTime to just we turn on the camera and sit there and play the same video game and try to go at like the same pace because it was before online gaming started. So we would kind of start at the same level and like sit there and just watch each other like play the same video game. So it was very like poor man online gaming.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I totally can see that because you're not connected in that way, but you're that's what you're interested in.
Yeah.
Boy, hasn't the world changed? I mean, now, I mean, online gaming is like huge. I wish I would have invested
Mhm.
in that company. You know, one of those companies, my word, it's just everywhere. And, you think back to I think back to my good old days with what was it called? Miss Pac-Man? Pac-Man? Pac-Man.
Oh yeah.
This is Pac-Man, I think, too. I just remember, with the little chomping thing, and then I remember one where it's, some kind of a ball or something would bounce and it would, I
Oh,
don't
I
know,
think that one's
explode the
Snake.
tires. What was it called?
I think it was called Snake. Is that what you're talking?
I think it was, yeah. Oh, anyway, so, yeah, things have come a long way, but so
Oh
interesting
yeah.
how immediately fascinating it was to be online and to then get a camera and to be able to see you could be seen and to see other people. How that played into what was eventually, you know, kind of where your own, you know, master manipulator, you know, where that master manipulation began was to exploit that vulnerability. Like, I'm unique. I don't really know or fit in with anybody in my hometown. It's a very small town. There's a lot of stigma around what I'm feeling and my own sexuality. So then how did it escalate? And how do you think we could, warn somebody that's young? Because, like you said, most of our, tweens and teenagers get very stubborn, like they know everything. And how do you guide them without pushing them the other way, you know?
Yeah, that is a very complicated question, I think, just because nowadays everyone is very just diverse in how they're being raised. So I think the number one step that needs to be taken is the parents need to be educated on grooming and like really just becoming involved with what their kids are doing on like these devices and the internet for sure. Because I remember my parents did try to, like, take away my devices at night when I would go to bed. I'm not sure if it was just for safety precautions or just because I would stay up all night playing video games, wouldn't be too tired in the morning for
Yeah,
school.
they tried. I
Yeah.
qualified it. They tried. Okay, continue how they tried. Go ahead.
But I really think, the biggest thing is to just have that conversation with your kid to really make sure that you are setting boundaries of what they should be saying like to other people that they're meeting online. Because I mean, someone can just say that they are your age, and it can be a complete lie. A lot of the older generation I've noticed just from my own experience, really does try to say like, "Oh yeah, I'm 19 or I'm 20 or I'm 16 as well," and it's because they are also trying to either groom or they're trying to find relationships or friendships that they can't get from anyone else their age. And when a kid comes into the picture, we're very curious as we're young because we're still learning. So
Right.
I think that's kind of like what they prey on is your curiosity.
I think that's I think that's really true. So the curiosity killed the cat. Let's not have it, harming our tweens and our teens in a way that, that we are so committed to preventing and to raising the awareness on, which is that sexual predation that is so pervasive. I mean, it's just everywhere. And this is one of the easiest ways that predators are finding access to young people, just like you described. And what I'm wondering is if you could have a conversation with your teen self about how people target someone and then build trust with them, which is really the second stage of grooming is building trust. What would you tell them about targeting? Like, are there certain phrases or certain things when you said, just make sure that they know, in general that this can happen? What would be a specific few phrases, if you were sitting down with your 16-year-old self, knowing that in a year someone was going to target you, what would you say to your 16-year-old self as
I think
as a parent?
because I think because I was so, desperate for detachment from the reality that I was in then, my parents struggled with a lot of mental health issues, they were recovering addicts, and the few friends at school I did have, I still, despite having their support, because they knew, I just tried to pretend that they didn't, um, I still had a lot of trust issues because of the amount of harassment and bullying I did go through from 3rd grade up to 6th grade. So it became um, very solidified in my mind that I needed to keep everybody at arm's length. So I think if I was to talk to my 16-year-old self, it would be to just relax, enjoy the time that you have now, and just try to be a kid and do the kid things and do, like the mall trips with my friends from middle school that people do. Just go walk around the mall and like, cause a little bit of trouble. Just enjoy those moments and try not to get so far ahead of yourself because I was so like around that age, I was just waiting. I was like, I can't wait till I'm 18. I just want to get out of here. I want to be able to be independent. I want to be able to do things on my own. I don't want anyone telling me what to do or criticizing me for the stuff I am trying to do. So I think it would just really be slow down. That's what I would try to tell my 16-year-old self.
I think that's great, and I think that again for parents, um, and maybe even older siblings to be reminded how important it is for those age anybody from about that age of going through middle school or junior high school and then into high school, that there needs to be still a sense of play. Like, go play with your kids. Like, if your tween, wants to learn how to rock climb, you learn how to rock climb, and then make sure that you spend some time, finding, common interests with your young person in your life, whether you're an older sibling or a cousin or an aunt, uncle, or a parent, is really important because I feel like I used to say to myself when I was a young mother, "Okay, I'm never gonna let my kids sit in front of the TV and just, watch Barney." First of all, because it would drive me mad and I would go crazy all day, but because also my moral compass was you need to spend time, you get down on the ground and you play with the Legos or the building blocks or the, whatever it is, the little twisty thing that had the colored beads, so you learn how to count and you read books, those are the things that I tried to commit to because my mom was really good at doing things, with us, and reading to us. We went to the library from my earliest memories to check out books from the time I remember anything was going to the library was one of our favorite things to do, and they would have little activities down there as well. So now we're in a different era where there's this phone thing. What age would you suggest that somebody should even get access to all of this information? It's hard to make kids stay young and to slow down and to be a kid or a teen. They just get ahead of themselves. I just used to think I would never, ever let my child have a phone until they were 16 years old, which of course didn't happen. My child got to his phone much sooner than that, about age 14, because again, he's older. It wasn't as popular. But now I think most kids are getting their phones when they're 8, 9, 10 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the reason I got a phone is because I was afraid of just the peers that I did have around me that were consistently bullying me. So I wanted the ability to call home when I needed to, without having to go to the office, explain myself, just kind of dive into it, or just being able to keep in contact with my sisters that I had. But there are ways to kind of control what is happening on teenagers' phones nowadays, especially through Apple. They have a lot of restrictions that you can set on the phone to kind of prevent them from accessing certain things. Kind of makes it to where certain limitability is kind of put on the device, so it requires like the parent's password. For my age, though, because of how, I guess, intuitive I was at the end, I was the teenager that was, like, trying to figure out the password and was, like, trying to, like, figure out how to go around it. They didn't have these type of, like, options on phones then because they were so new. But just for anyone watching, I was that teenager, and I know that there's more out there that would do something like that.
Yeah.
But I really do think just limiting screen time for sure. Really trying to engage in your family together. And if, your family is struggling, still attempting to try to do those types of things in a way that fits with your family and your circumstances. So, with me, my mom loved to go on walks all the time. We got a dog, so I started to really start walking a lot to kind of, I guess, ground myself at that time. And just I loved to adventure around like that age. So it was just fun for me to like take my dog and walk around and kind of do those really kind of old fashioned like family value type of things. And we love to go to like the movies and just enjoy the time you have with your family in ways that you're able to succeed in that for sure.
Yeah, that's really good. I just think that that's really become one of the hardest things because I often get asked, how did I survive, what happened to me?" And I said, "For me, this was my first answer, and it's stuck with me." The first time that somebody asked me that, I said, "Well, my family, we ate dinner together around the dinner table with no distractions like a cell phone because they didn't exist. And because of that, because that was like religiously, it was tradition. I mean, dad would come home from work, the girls, me and my sisters, we set the table with dad sometimes helping because that's what he would do, and he would clear the table, and mom always had dinner ready, and that was something that I didn't realize was so idyllic about my early childhood, but I'm like, that's how I survived because I had those family dinners where we would talk around the dinner table. It sounds so simple, but my parents listened, even as we were very young, and so finding a way to do that in this day and age with that distraction of that phone, I think is super important. I really appreciate your suggestions. And, when you were talking about how people compose, I mean, people can upload whatever picture they want, right? It's not like there's nobody saying that this is an image of you or not you, or if this is an image of you 20 years ago or not, right?
Yeah, very true. There's a lot of people that just from the social media apps that I've seen that, have their profile picture of them from 10 years ago, because it makes them, feel at that age still. It's something that they feel attracts people because of how they looked then, which I find can be dangerous for the younger generation who is starting to talk with someone like that, that's using a picture from that age. With my experience, that's kind of what my abuser did as well. Used very old pictures of himself so that I wasn't able to identify his true age at first.
Okay. So that really is a thing that happens a lot. And in your case, having, that experience with an online predator, um, were there certain ways that you immediately felt trust with that person? That's the second stage is now somebody has targeted you because you've said something that shows a vulnerability. You had talked about your self-esteem. Now your predator that you've now met who looks way younger. What sorts of, you know, things do they say to gain trust when it's through the internet? Yeah, I mean, I guess it's if you can see their face, it's as if they're there in person. So just describe some of those things so that we can be aware.
I think for me, just because of how desperate I was for a friend and just a shoulder to cry on about what I was like going through at the time, it was very easy for him to sense that. So he really did for sure take on like the friend role and the like parental role, like giving me the attention that I wasn't getting from my parents. So that's kind of what broke my walls down. And I remember at first I was very resistant about talking with this person just because I had a gut feeling for sure that there was something not honest about the situation. But because I didn't really have a lot of people to talk to about what I was going through, I started to ignore that gut instinct. And so when I started to just have a harmless conversation with him that I thought about opening up about the goals I wanted to pursue in life, my dreams, my interests, and then it went into what I was struggling with. That really gave him the blueprint to kind of map out how he was going to assault me.
Wow. It's just heartbreaking and it's happening, thousands of times every day, if not more than, you know, thousands of times every day where someone is being targeted first and then they they get the vulnerability and they say the right things that young person needs to hear, wants to hear, is hungry for, and I really appreciate, you sharing some of those things with our audience because that's what I don't think, you know, when you're a parent, you might put you know, how to find your kid or to see where they're driving. I know my younger sister does that. So
Not mine as well.
are listening. So, and that's so genius. I mean, I never knew there was anything on the phone. I never had any parameters, but, again, the phones were flip phones and, when it started out, and then by the time, I think by the time my son graduated from high school, we had Apple devices that were not flip phones. But I can't really remember when that really changed because I know I had a flip phone for a long, long time. But, ugh, they're so tricky. Those online predators are so tricky because they can give you exactly what you wanna hear. They can make you feel safe, like you can talk to me, he's your friend, you're coming out, and now he knows exactly what he's gonna target, how he's gonna target you. It just makes me get cold chills and shivers down my back and just makes me sad and makes me mad as well. So, have you ever experienced where the predator was offering, like, to give you something that you couldn't get yourself, like money or
Oh, yeah.
alcohol or, any of that? Yes?
Yeah, so because my dreams ended up being, very similar to the type of success he was able to build his life off of, it was very simple and easy for him to kind of use that as the angle with me. Um, I already had a idea that the stuff I wanted to try to accomplish or learn in life, I was going to have a very hard time doing it on my own or with support from my family. My family was very traditional, very low income, and these dreams that I had were the complete opposite. So it became something that was how do I put this? It was something that he put at the end of the fishing line and dangled over me as a way
Mm.
to kind of control what he wanted to do with me.
He
Yeah.
exploited the dreams that you had and had I just think it's so interesting because when he probably first targeted you and met you, he didn't did he know? I mean, somehow did he, go through all of the hopes and dreams categories and go, "Oh, this one wants this, and that's what I do. So I think I'll just target this person," or did it was there more of an organic like getting to know you and then being able to like, "Oh, I can fill that need or that dream, I can help him build that dream, or at least I can promise him that I'm going to help
So
him.
that's exactly
That's
what
gonna be the
happened.
cover."
Um,
Yeah.
when he approached me online and during the first couple of conversations we had, when I did drop down my walls and start to open up about my goals, it was like the best match possible for him. I remember, like, I'll always remember this, just seeing my inbox flooding with pictures of the type of work he does, seeing pictures of him with people that I looked up to. And so it really became clear to me that, wow, this is the person I need to talk to because this is who's going to like help me get to there. And that is like what he dangled over me the whole time. And seeing that he had provided proof that he had already accomplished what I was trying to accomplish in life, this is who I should, like put my faith in to achieve my dreams. And that was never the case.
Yeah. Well, and that's, you know, basically just exploiting your dreams and engaging you in the possibilities that you thought would never be possible. It just makes me so angry about how calculating these predators are, especially when it's young people, we're supposed to be full of hopes and dreams, and we're supposed to go through our tween and teenage life being able to dream about things and to not be exploited for them. It just makes me so upset. I I really appreciate you know, the the I don't know, the forthright way that you talk about this online medium for predators to really engage with the tween and teenage population and how much unsafety there is there. If you could, again, go back when this relationship is developing online and knowing what you know today, anything that a friend, a teacher, a parent, somebody could have seen, it's just so hard because it feels like I know how that feels to be completely groomed and have everybody around you groomed and stuff. But is there anything that maybe they could have noticed that might have deterred you or steered you away from this person who then exploited you?
I think really, after I was contacted by him, I became very secretive, because he had kind of put in my mind that I needed to keep things a secret. So I was the teenager that went in my room immediately after school or after the first job that I had, shut the door, and just stayed away from everybody. So I think that is a big red flag for sure when your teenager or your child is on a device consistently, is lacking being social with you anymore, doesn't really talk about the things that they used to talk about anymore. Because as I was doing that, it was because I had started to compare his success to everyone in my families. And so I kind of just lost hope with everyone in my family because I just kind of thought, like I didn't see them as successful anymore or anything like that because I started to compare everyone to him. And I saw it then as I was being groomed as like a golden ticket that I just kind of like stumbled on.
Mhm.
So that was like really, I think, a big red flag that I think a lot of parents should watch for. And nowadays, like, a lot of people have anxiety and do kind of just, doom scroll on their phone to kind of distract themselves from situations that they have to be in that are uncomfortable or are spiking their anxiety for like whatever reason. So just really trying to get involved, like, maybe if they're playing games, start to play the game with them. So then you can kind of see like what the game is, like what happens in the game, like, what kind of um resources are on it to communicate with other people, I think is a good one for sure. A lot of games have like voice chat now, and some are even going up to video chat, and just like, chatting through text and everything. So, really just kind of seeing like what kind of people are on those types of games or just any kind of social media platform that they're on. And I really think nowadays everybody is, because of the whole like influencer thing, that's like the dream everyone is starting to have is they want to be known for something. So a lot of people are
Yeah.
chasing to be an influencer or, an actor or like getting into like music production like I was trying to. And so it's like this endless kind of like self-marketing you're trying to do and like self-learning to figure out how they're doing it. And the predators kind of, I think, see that because it's consistently evolving for them and they are smart.
Mhm.
So they start to catch on to that's the angle that they need to go by. Is that I can help you become an influencer. I have, the community to be able to help you do this. And that's where you need to start being really careful.
Oh, that's so good because that really covers stage 3 and 4 of grooming. And I haven't talked in depth about those just yet, but I'm going to be. And when you say that basically this person filled this need, played a role in your life to move you towards your dreams. That's the third stage of grooming is to fill a need, to play this role in the child's life, to play a role that parents or the other adults or the people, the teachers or whoever aren't playing that role, or to target something that is like beyond their capacity. And then, yeah, let's figure out how to, I'll fill that role, and that's totally what happened to you. So that was this third stage of grooming. And then the fourth stage is isolation. Because if you're having a relationship behind a closed door in your bedroom, online with somebody, you're in complete isolation. There aren't even parents around, because you shut the door to your bedroom. So, yeah, we should really look at that when that's basically what your child is doing, you know, 24/7. They're coming home. They may not even have dinner. They just go right to their room, shut the door. That's a big red flag. So, I just think it's really interesting that you have just kind of described those first 4 stages of grooming within your own story. I really appreciate having this conversation with you, John, and I want them running for the hills.
I
I
agree.
want them to know that we're exposing you, and these tactics that they use, starting online are just nefarious. And thank you for being my guest and for helping us, really talk through these stages of grooming and manipulation that you experienced and giving us some advice so that we can do it better with our kids or our grandkids and we can be more involved in their lives. Is there any final words or thoughts, especially about these first two stages, the vulnerability, that's how they target you, and then the building trust that we might have missed that you still would like to say before we close today's episode?
I think one I think is a big red flag for sure, that this process is even being done with your own kid is when they start to hide the phone. When they start to try to put passwords on their phone or they start to sneak around on it. You're noticing them up really late at night because that's when they're praying is late at night usually. And so I think that is something that people need to for sure look for because that's what I did when this was all going on. Is I put passwords on my phone, I hid them. Um, I even put like decoy apps on my phone at one point. I was very intelligent about just trying to hide everything that was going on because I was afraid of getting in trouble with my family. And I think that's another thing too is if you see your child or your teenager that is talking to someone like this, yeah, it is like important to, lay down the law on them and, make sure that they're not continuing to do this, but also expressing that it's not their fault, it's the predator's fault because they're the ones that are targeting them and that are doing this and that you're a child. And that, it's okay to be curious, but it's really important to make sure that you educate your family, your kids, like the brothers and sisters, everyone to just pay attention to these kinds of things. The generation that most parents are from are just not used to how technology works nowadays. But I think a way that could benefit your child and your teen that's using these devices is just really trying to take the time to learn how to use it. Especially with work nowadays, a lot of people have to use these types of technology to just do their jobs. So I think really just putting in the effort to learn how these apps work, how these phones work, and the different kinds of functions that they have will really benefit your teen and your child a lot. Specifically, I think one that everyone should be deterred away from if you have someone that is a minor and a teenager is Snapchat. Snapchat, you send one message, you open it and you close it, and it's gone immediately. And it is the easiest platform for a predator to use to keep everything under the wraps.
Oh my gosh, so they're under the radar with Snapchat because it disappears. How about pictures? I mean, I've heard that most
Pictures too,
most
yeah.
tweens and teenagers are getting, nude pictures of some sort, and then they disappear too, right?
Yep.
Ugh, that's a really good advice. Just do not let your tweens or teens have Snapchat. Can you enable a phone to make sure that that can't be enabled? Can you put some protection on there?
So a way that I think you are able to do that is there's a setting that you can place to where you have to put in a specific password to download apps that are meant for the older ages, like 17 and up. So you would have to be the one to approve the app to be installed on the phone. I think just putting those boundaries up with your child and your teenager to put those kind of protections in place is the best way to kind of stop all of that from happening.
Oh, yeah, I love that. Thank you for those parting words because I think all of us older parents can look back and go, oh, if only I'd have done that very thing, because we've all probably to some degree had an experience or two where, it was the feeling like, well, it's just their phone. They're okay on it. Okay, go ahead. I'm going to get on the phone, but not knowing that these sort of things can happen, with that very powerful piece of technology that is, it's attached really to every young person. It's attached to me most of the time, and so I really appreciate the advice and the words of wisdom that have come through just talking about these stages of grooming today. And I just want to thank you and let you know that this does change lives, and we will raise way more awareness when we have the voices of younger people, still in their 20s kind of people having this conversation. So thank you so much for being my guest today.
Yeah, of course, Shan.